short-term benefits through instability in Hong Kong are, I think, outweighed by longer-term disamenities and longer-term structural problems that might arise if there continues to be instability in Hong Kong or in any other major economy or in the region.
Let's go back to Sean King in New York now for more on this. Sean, for a long time it looked like that Singapore could do no wrong in terms of being such a strong and powerful economy in the Southeast Asian region. So what's going on in Singapore? Why is it struggling?
I think Singapore may be a victim of its own success in entering some kind of middle-age crisis as it looks forward how to define itself. And I lived there for 2 years, and I'm very bullish on Singapore long term, especially given Hong Kong's accelerated demise. Because if you look at it, with Hong Kong becoming just another Chinese city, there's really no other multinational financial hub where investors will feel safe going forward, especially one that's, while not formally allied with the United States, is at least friendly with the U.S. and many major powers. And although also they claim to have good relations with mainland China, but at the same time, its military trains on Taiwan. So they've always kept a good balance between Washington and Beijing. And I think there's a tendency now, anytime there's any kind of economic difficulty, to blame it on the U.S.-China trade war. Just like when there's a financial downturn, banks use it as an excuse to get rid of staff they didn't really want to keep along anyway. It's important to break down the Singapore numbers. Electronics and engineering are down, but food and beverage, construction, insurance, finance, aerospace, areas like this are all up. And there was already a global economics downturn and a China slowdown even before the U.S.-China trade war. So while the U.S.-China trade war is not helping Singapore, I don't think it's going to affect it as negatively as, say, markets like South Korea and Hong Kong, or benefit it, markets like Vietnam. So let's not rush to say every time we see a country turn in lower than expected numbers, then it's because of the U.S.-China trade war.
Interesting. Let's look more at this, the Hong Kong situation, because a lot of people are now speculating, as you're saying, that this, I guess, the ongoing unrest in Hong Kong could accelerate this process of perhaps Singapore becoming the next big Asian financial hub. Are we seeing signs of that now?
I hear offline a lot of private wealth managers moving money to Singapore. I'm sure a lot of conferences and training sessions, executive get-togethers are being shifted to Seoul, Tokyo, Singapore, Taipei even, because Hong Kong's so uncertain. But I think it's going to be more of a gradual long-term process. The next time a company has to renew a lease or decide where to house its expats or where to build its next R&D center, does Hong Kong really make sense? That's where Singapore really has a big value proposition going forward. It won't be sudden, although there have been some sudden shifts, but long term, Hong Kong was dying anyway. These events have just brought that moment forward.
Okay, now if Singapore does become the next big Asian financial hub, I mean, it will have to address some issues, won't it? The cost of living in Singapore is already sky high compared to other relative cities. They're short on housing supply, land is scarce. I mean, what else does it need to do to, I guess, prepare for this shift from Hong Kong to Singapore?
Well, I think it's going to have to address its manufacturing base, become even more of a services economy. It has a lot of green space. It has a lot of space. It just doesn't want to turn over the green space to development. So it may look at more of that, reclaim some more land in the sea, maybe become a true democracy, which it's currently not. You know, Singapore will benefit from the shift of business to it from Hong Kong, but it may also get nervous that what people are demanding on the streets of Hong Kong, they will also demand in Singapore. It's a managed democracy, you could say. And you also have this new sibling rivalry within the ruling Lee family over the estate of the deceased founding father, Lee Kuan Yew. So a lot of little things bubbling up under the surface, but Bottom line, Singapore is its own master and doesn't answer to anyone. So it's not going to have somebody like Beijing telling it what to do. And Singapore, as a multicultural nation that's always rejuvenated itself through immigration, I am confident that it will find the right way because the opportunity is there.
Okay, something for us to keep an eye on. Sean King in New York, thank you as always.